I mean, how comfortable are you with kind of how that left tackle position looks right now?
Yeah, so I'm confident Braxton's going to come back and be healthy. I know he's busting his butt in rehab. See him in the building all the time, trying to get back. And our training staff has been outstanding with that as well. So I'm confident he's going to get back and back to form. That's definitely a situation when you look at the draft and as we move forward, to bring another tackle is definitely something that we would consider to do. But I'm also excited about Karan and his development. So it is a little bit of puts us in a pickle. But at the end of the day, if you're raising competition and you're bringing in a surplus of offensive line, usually it takes care of itself and you're better off that way too.
Let's go ahead and talk about a developing story here. Do the Chicago Bears plan on drafting a tackle in round 1? And would they trade Braxton Jones? What is the Bears' plan at left tackle going forward? Rumors have been swirling after Ryan Poles spoke on the topic at the NFL's owner meetings. I've been back and forth on this over the last 8 weeks. Heading into the offseason, I called this offseason the year of the trenches, and I talked in length about how important it was to make this offseason all about improving the trenches. And I think the moves that Ryan Poles has made may have sidetracked some of us from that. Not only has Ryan Poles already made this offseason all about the trenches, but he put such an emphasis on both the O-line and the D-line that he arguably has already filled most of the holes in the trenches on this roster. Early on, I expected there was a very good chance we'd draft O-line in round 1, but after all the moves we made in free agency and the trades, I was almost ready to take offensive line off the table in round 1. I've talked about it a lot. And with the combination of the draft board, the lack of blue chip prospects, and what we did in free agency, and the thought of us drafting offensive line in round 1, plus you listen to Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson talk about adding impact players to this roster, and suddenly I was ready to take offensive line off the board at least until day 2. But a couple of other interviews surfaced late, and there were a couple of quotes that I think people are missing there. Ryan Poles actually mentioned the possibility of trading Braxton Jones and talked about drafting another tackle. This is what Ryan Poles said. He said to bring another tackle in is definitely something we'd consider doing, but I am excited about Karan and his development as well. But that wasn't all he said. He also talked about potentially trading Braxton Jones without so much as saying that. Dig deep into these comments here. He was asked about drafting a left tackle in the first round. And he talked about not only liking Braxton and Karan, but also about it being a premium position. And he said we aren't guaranteed to be in a spot to pick one of these guys again, meaning we might not have a chance to pick a top left tackle. If we win like we're supposed to, we won't be picking in the top 10 again. So if they do draft one in the first round and end up with a surplus of tackles, he talked about the different possibilities, and he said the young tackle could wait and learn behind Braxton Jones. Let's go ahead and read the whole quote. Here's what Ryan Poles said. He said, so if we end up with a surplus, and he was talking about of players at one position, then he said, let's just figure it out after that. Let them compete, and the best guy wins. If a young guy has to wait, then he has to wait. Or other things could happen here where the guys that are currently in those spots get opportunities for other teams. Digest that comment for a minute. The guy currently in those spots are right tackle and left tackle. Darnell Wright's not going anywhere. He's talking about Braxton Jones, and he goes on to say could get opportunities with other teams. Is he talking about leaving via free agency next year, or is he talking about potentially trading him this year? To me, what Ryan Poles was saying there was that they definitely are considering drafting a left tackle at pick 10. But also, if they draft a tackle and he comes in here and beats out Braxton Jones, or if Karan Amagaji beats him out this offseason, they might be open to trading Braxton Jones in training camp. Look, Ryan Poles is a very clever person, and he's very careful with his words. He didn't flat out say any of those things, but he carefully hinted that if that situation occurs, it could definitely be a possibility. And while I am a fan of Braxton Jones, I think he's performed admirably for a 5th round pick. I think he's a starting tackle in the NFL, and I think Ryan Poles agrees with that as well. But there are plenty of reasons to believe that when Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson and our new staff got together, that Braxton Jones was not in our long-term plans at left tackle. Let's think about the reasons why. First, he's coming off a gruesome ankle injury, and the most recent reports suggest he might not be ready until into training camp. On top of that, he's already struggled with the bull rush in the NFL, and Ben Johnson wants him to get better against that by adding more weight and getting more anchor. But that's a big issue here. How does he bulk up when he's coming back from an off-season ankle injury? He's going to be fighting to just get to 100%. Adding bulk to his lower body is going to be really hard to accomplish coming back from an injury. But on top of that, with free agents less talented than Braxton getting more than $20 million a season in free agency this year, and this being Braxton's last year of his contract, I believe the writing is on the wall. And Ryan Poles is a GM that loves to plan for the future. I don't think it's a lock that we take any position at pick 10. I think right now our options might be this: Ashton Genty, Mason Graham, and Tyler Warren are all options if they fall to us. If they don't, maybe Ryan Poles is considering taking a left tackle or trading down in this spot. The left tackle options would be between Will Campbell, Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks Jr., and maybe Armand Mimbu. But this could also be a well-placed smokescreen by Ryan Poles. Remember back to the 2023 NFL Draft. He did multiple interviews talking up Jalen Carter before the draft, only to trade down and not take him when he fell to us. So even though Ryan Poles is usually very honest, he's also smart enough to not let other teams know his draft plans. To me, I don't think anything has really changed here. We still have ultimate flexibility to take the best player on the board at pick 10. Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, Ian Cunningham, and Dennis Allen are all working in collaboration with the rest of the coaching staff and scouts to narrow down our choices on the draft board. But the biggest takeaway for me from all of the talk was Ryan Poles' words about potentially trading Braxton Jones. To be clear, I don't think we're going to trade Braxton Jones, but to me, what I think it means is that Braxton Jones is probably not in our long-term plans. If we end up in the situation where we draft another tackle and have a surplus of left tackles on this roster, things would work themselves out. So it's not really something to worry about. And again, going back to before this offseason started, we've talked about upgrading this O-line and fixing the trenches for the last 3 off seasons. So if the direction they go in round 1 continues to be adding to this offensive line, I think Bears fans will be happy at the end of the day. But currently, we are not in a position where we have to do that. And we do have the luxury here to take the best player available. And that's one of the things I've been trying to hamper on for the last month or two. But I would not be surprised if Ryan Poles takes a tackle in round 1, or if he doesn't take a tackle in round 1 either. Although going forward, looking at this position long term, I believe that the most likely situation going forward has Ryan Poles drafting another tackle to compete with Karan Amagaji long term. I think most likely that comes from either round 2 or round 3, unless we wait until 2026. And as far as Braxton Jones, right now it's hard to envision him getting a long-term deal done in Chicago, unless he took a major hometown discount. Going into 2026, there should be a big market during free agency for him, no matter how this season plays out. So when it comes to pick 10, this is going to be the hardest draft in a long time to figure out who we are going to pick. But it's such an exciting time for this fan base. I know we've had top 10 picks for 3 straight years, but I believe this could be our last time picking in the top 10 for a long time. So I'm going to enjoy every second of this year's draft, and I have a ton of draft-related content on the way. Please hit that like button for me. Make sure you have your notifications turned on. Stay tuned for more Bears content, and until next time, bear down.